What's going on, everybody? It's another Al Gattullo Craft Beer Cast on AM 970. The Answer, the final week of October of 2024. A little Van Halen, Fair Warning, Sinner's Swing, their 1981 album. You hear the drums in the beginning there? Little Alex Van Halen. Got a chance to meet Alex Van Halen this past Tuesday. Picked up a copy of his memoir, Brothers. It's about him and obviously his brother, Eddie Van Halen. And great book. Started going through it. It's an excellent read. If you got a person who's a Van Halen fan in your life, definitely a Hanukkah Christmas present for them. Brief meeting with Alex, it's basically, you get the book, he signs it, you try and, snap a quick picture or whatever of, seeing this drum god. He's had some things to say about his brother over the course of the last couple of weeks in interviews and stuff. Check him out. Rolling Stone, the New York Times did a piece on it. Barely mentions Sammy Hagar in the book. In fact, just says we've had other singers in the band. The book takes you up to 1984 and then when Roth left the band. So it stops there. And he talks about how he could have gone on more and been gossipy and this and that, but decided not to. But I think, in effect, that by not getting gossipy, he did get gossipy a little bit. He's made it very clear what he thinks is the essence of the band, and the band basically stopped at 1984. My only take is this. If the band had stopped with David Lee Roth as the lead singer, and you didn't like the things that Eddie did, playing with Michael Jackson, playing with Thomas Dolby, playing with all these other people, then why continue to cash the checks when you brought Sammy Hagar in and you guys went to number one? Why with Gary Sharon? Why did you get back together with Sammy Hagar and then you get back with DLR again? I'm just saying. If the band stopped in 1984, why continue on? That's all. I'm going to leave it at that. We could talk more about this. I could talk about this for hours. Maybe we'll bring back Greg Renoff. Maybe we'll bring him back in the next couple of weeks just to talk about it. I know he'll have, dove into the book pretty heavily. Now, coming up in 20 minutes, Steve Esparra. He is a podcaster, content creator. He's got a great Instagram account that you have to follow. It's called Drain Pour Beer. It's sort of the Onion for beer. Steve got surprised by his wife for his 40th birthday with a trip to Oktoberfest in Germany. Wanted to get his impression of what the trip was all about. That's coming up in just about 20 minutes from now, an interview that we taped over at Alternate Ending in Aberdeen, New Jersey. Of course, portions of the program of the Al Gattullo Craft Beer Cast are brought to you by Wet Ticket Brewing, 1435 Main Street, beautiful Rahway, New Jersey. I was there last night, little pre-gaming for the Robert Cray Band. 50 years as a band. He played at the Union County Playhouse. Fantastic little venue in Rahway, New Jersey. Had a great time watching Robert Cray. First time I ever saw Robert Cray. Big fan of Robert Cray. So very happy to listen to some blues and have a little bit of fun. Maybe we'll play a little Robert Cray in our next segment here. As we know all along here, the craft beer industry has seen a downward trend. Now, for the second year in a row, craft beer is down. They saw no growth in 2023 for the first time ever, not including the pandemic, and minus a 1% production decline for this year. That's the worst on record since the Brewers Association began tracking industry data in the late 1970s. The overall beer industry saw minus 5.1% production volume. Heavy competition and changing alcohol consumption habits are a concern to the sector, with younger generations drinking far less than their predecessors. This is true. The younger generation is not drinking like we used to drink. They are not. They're drinking non-alcoholic stuff. They're not even drinking non-alcoholic stuff. Water. I mean, yes, I know water is non-alcoholic. I'm just saying they're not even drinking like non-alcoholic beer, non-alcoholic spirits. They're just not drinking. And whether it's cannabis or whatever, they're just not indulging in alcohol. So I think that's part of the reason over the last couple of years you're seeing craft breweries close, and also it's the economy too. Inflation, costs have gone up. You go to stores, you go to liquor stores, and you get sticker shock from seeing a 4-pack of beer at $20-something. Everybody has a price limit as to what they're going to spend, right? My price range anywhere between $12 and $20 I will spend on a 4-pack of craft beer. When you go north of 20, it better be fantastic for me to plunk down that kind of money. It really better. Because if it's not, you are absolutely not going to get me to buy it. I saw what the Trillium prices were in New Jersey. Ridiculous. Equilibrium, those things. And they're good beers. But to pay that kind of money? Nah. I'm not going to do it. I'm just not going to do it. Now, would I buy a pint of it? Yes. You're already paying $8, $9 for a pint. The markup is not going to be that much higher. But if a bar is going to charge me, $12 for a cane or $15 for a carton or something like that, no. That's outlandish. Not going to happen. All right. Again, another one we could do an entire show on and not be bored. All right. Lawson's Finest Liquids with a new addition to its fall roster. It's a collaboration between Adelaine Druitt, the brewery's first hired CEO. First hired CEO? That's true. That is true. And founding brewer Sean Lawson. It's an ode to experimentation and the early days of Lawson's Finest, when recipes were created on a whim at the original 7-barrel brewery in Warren, Vermont. So this is Lawson's Freestyle IPA. It's a 6.8% ABV West Coast style IPA brewed with Pilsner malt that allows the unique character of Talus hops to shine alongside a soft bitterness. That's cool. I definitely have to check that out. Deschutes nails the non-alcoholic porter, apparently. Now, this is the Black Butte non-alcoholic porter. It's a new take on the original robust porter with all the authenticity of the original, but none of the baggage. It is crafted entirely in-house, utilizing sustainable beverage technologies, Bruvo technology in combination with Deschutes' proprietary brewing methods. Interesting. So a non-alcoholic porter. Interesting. Speaking of non-alcoholic beers, actor Tom Holland, you know him? Spider-Man, right? I mean, that's his big claim to fame. Well, for 2 years now, he's been sober. He cut off alcohol, so he was getting a little out of control, decided to go on this path of sobriety. That's awesome. He's now released a new line of non-alcoholic beers that are available in the United States. So the name of the beer is called Biro. This is along with the help of beverage industry vet John Herman. He says he's come out with 3 different beers here. A Kingston Golden Pils. This is named after Tom's hometown, Kingston Upper Thames. This is a fresh take on the bright and timeless crisp European Pils. Then it's Edge Hill Hazy IPA. It's named for Tom's school, where so many memories and lessons took place. This juicy New England-style brew is tropical, refreshing, and hop-forward. And then Noon Wheat. It is named after Tom's beloved Schnauzer. The wheat is cloudy and classic with a perfect citrus finish. Biro is a direct reflection of its founder's lived experience and outlook on life that taps into Holland's philosophy that well-being is holistic. He says, after 2 years on my sobriety journey, I wanted to create something that reflected my lifestyle and values. This beer isn't just for those on a similar path, but for everyone who appreciates quality, craftsmanship, and living life to the fullest. Biro, spelled B-E-R-O, delivers the taste and experience of a great brew and never asks you to settle for less. John Herman, who is the CEO at Imaginary Ventures and WME to make Biro the contender that he hopes Herman does. It will become Herman a beverage vet, 20 years of experience in consumer-focused categories. Holland added in the statement, for me, Biro is personal. Obviously, if he's sober, he certainly wants this to be, a sober journey. And again, like we said, a lot of this youth segment is switching to a non-alcoholic variety. I mean, my son is 21. He has yet to have an alcoholic drink. By the time I was 21, I ran the gamut. So I get it. It's a cultural shift. And what can breweries do to meet that cultural shift? Do you make a non-alcoholic beer? Some guys say it's very labor-intensive. You have to have dedicated things. It's not in their business plan. Maybe they have to switch that. But the other thing is, maybe you buy the competition. You buy some of the competition and you resell it. Because I've seen that happen at a number of places where they have athletic brewing in cans. It can happen. Finally, a couple of 12-packs that you can get if you're looking for beers from the fall. The Samuel Adams Fest Variety Pack, that is out now. We're going to actually talk about that in Suds and Duds coming up towards the end of the show. Oktoberfest, Jacko, Flannel Fest, and Boston Lager is in that one. The Dogfish Head variety fall pack has, let's see here, 60-minute IPA, Slightly Mighty, Tasty Traveler Jasmine Rice Lager, which I have not had. That sounds really good. Crafted with lemongrass, wildflower honey, and Makrut lime tea. And then, of course, Blue Hen Pilsner, which is only available in those 12-packs. And then finally, the Schiffley Beer Garden variety pack. This has the Dunkel Lager, Oktoberfest Amber Lager, the Munich Helles Lager, and the Bavarian Weiss Ale. All of them clock in at just about 5% or under. So there you go. 3 national brands, that 12-packs that you can pick up right now for your fall beers. Pretty cool. Now, when we come back after a short break, of course, we're going to have more news and notes from around the beer world. And we'll talk a little bit about that Robert Cray show and talk about some other things as well. This is the Al Gattullo Craft Beer Cast on AM 970, The Answer. Welcome back to the Al Gattullo Craft Beer Cast on AM 970, The Answer. A little I'm the One from Van Halen's first album way back in 1978. And those drums, man, when you heard Alex Van Halen playing those drums, man, you knew it was going to be a good time. I was so excited to meet him the other night. He could not have been more gracious. Took pictures, chatted with every single person in the room. It was phenomenal, and one of the better experiences at meeting someone who, quite frankly, is rock royalty. There you go. And I'm diving into the Brothers book this weekend. Very short books, about less than 300 pages, I think. So interesting stuff so far. Maybe we'll get into it in the coming weeks. Coming up in 10 minutes, Steve Esparra. He is the founder and editor-in-chief of DrainPour.beer. He's going to join me on the program. He is the content creator of this site. But Steve got surprised by his wife for his 40th birthday with a trip to Oktoberfest in Germany, and I wanted to get his impressions of what the trip was all about, what he did, how he went about it, and we'll talk a little bit about Drain Pour Beer as well. That happens just under 10 minutes from now. Now, Icarus Brewing is brewing a beer to help folks that have been deeply impacted by Hurricane Helene. This is to help out people in western North Carolina, the breweries that are there, breweries, local businesses, families grappling with the devastation in the road to recovery. Will be long and it will be challenging. This is from their post on their Facebook page. And that's why Dissolver, DSSOLVR, has launched Higher Calling. It's a collaboration project to raise funds for those affected. Higher Calling is a hazy IPA brewed to support the rebuilding of the breweries and neighborhoods that make North Carolina a unique region, and they need your help to make this initiative a success. How can you get involved? Very simple. Join Icarus Friday, November 8th for a special fundraiser event where 100% of draft pours and canned sales of this brew will go directly to Higher Calling. It starts at 5 p.m. They're going to have live music in the tap room to bring everyone together in support, and they thank you for being a part of Higher Calling. Together we can help rebuild the North Carolina community one beer at a time. That's awesome. So you go to Icarus Friday, November 8th, 100% of draft pours and can sales of this brew, Higher Calling, will go directly to help out the places down in western North Carolina. That's awesome. Great job by the crew at Icarus with Jason Goldstein leading the charge. Black Tie back with its full flavor that maintains easy drinkability from Torch and Crown. Their newest porter pours with ruby red highlights and a dark tan head that contains aromas of espresso bean and dark chocolate sweetness. It is available now at Torch and Crown. And by the way, if you are in Manhattan, under, I think it's, Houston Street and below, or whatever it is in lower Manhattan, you can get a delivery of beer in under an hour, and I believe they deliver to all 5 boroughs as well. That's pretty cool. Coming up on Saturday, January 18th of next year, the Ultimate Pocono Winter Beer Fest is back. It'll take place at the Sherman Theater in downtown Stroudsburg. You can sample over 100 hand-picked craft beers from local and regional breweries. VIP early access is from noon to 1 p.m. It's limited to 100 people. That's cool. So don't wait. You get first dibs on rare brews, a souvenir glass, and early entry to the beer samples. It's $55 in advance, $65 the day of the event. I am sure this is going to sell out. General admission opens at 1 p.m. You can get your tickets right now for $40 in advance. That's $50 day of the event. And get ready to raise a glass with your fellow beer enthusiasts. Go to ShermanTheater.com for tickets. Again, it's Saturday, January 18th. Early access VIP is at noon. General admission is at 1 o'clock. The Sherman Theater is on 524 Main Street in Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. If you've ever wanted a home brew, this is really cool. Double Tap Brewing in Whippany is doing a homebrew day or learn to homebrew day. The event is open to all, whether you're an experienced home brewer or just always wanted to see what it's all about. Double Tap has deep roots with the home brewing community and is paying it forward on November the 3rd with Homebrew Association. Members of local homebrew clubs will also be in attendance to help you take your love of home brewing and beer to the next level. There is a link. We will post that on our Facebook page as well as on our X account. You sign up to get a behind-the-scenes look at brewing with Double Tap. That's cool. Cool little spot in Whippany. Used to be a post office. Absolutely go check out Double Tap and try their beers. They are fantastic. And if you want to learn how to homebrew or you're a home brewer already, November 3rd, you go and you hang out with Jeff Moriello and the gang and, learn some tricks of the trade. Pretty cool. San Diego Beer Week is approaching. That's coming up from November the 1st through the 10th. Lots of events going on. Unfortunately, I can't make it out there. Stone is having their big anniversary party on the 2nd. There are a lot of things going on. AleSmith is doing a beer and cheese pairing with Cheesesmith at AleSmith. 4 handcrafted cheese varieties thoughtfully paired with 4 AleSmith beers and accoutrements. It is guided by AleSmith and Cheesesmith owner Peter Zien. Tickets are available right now. Just go to Eventbrite.com and search beer and cheese pairing or search AleSmith, and you'll be able to find the link there, and you can buy tickets for that. You can also pick up their newest barrel-aged Speedway Stout. That's coming down the canning line. The Coffee Cake Edition features locally roasted coffee, velvety vanilla beans, and cinnamon, all aged to perfection in bourbon barrels. It's available now on draft and in 16-ounce cans in their tasting room and online, and it's coming soon to stores in California, Arizona, Washington, Minnesota, Oregon, and Ohio. And as I mentioned, with San Diego Beer Week returning November 1st through the 10th, the marquee event this year is the Capital of Craft Beer Fest. That will serve up the city's most creative beers on November the 9th. More than 30 local breweries will be pouring their best hop-forward beers at the festival. Guests can enjoy unlimited tasters in their customized tasting glass. The IPA-focused beer fest will also serve non-hoppy beers for those who prefer other styles. A fan vote will be conducted by Brewery DB's virtual tap list to determine the People's Choice Hoppy Beer Award. They are also releasing let's see here. For the 8th time, a Capital of Craft IPA collaboration beer will be released for San Diego Beer Week. This year's edition brought together by Fall Brewing Company, who's the host brewer, Black Plague, Blob Brewing, Hodad's, Hoponymous Brewing, Ketch Brewing, and the West Coast Style IPA will be available at all Guild member breweries throughout the 10-day celebration. It is taking place at Kilowatt Brewing in Kearny Mesa, 7576 Claremont Mesa Boulevard in San Diego. Coming up next, Steve Esparra, the founder, editor-in-chief, content creator of DrainPour.beer, is going to join me on the program from Alternate Ending Brewing. And portions of this program are brought to you by Wet Ticket Brewing, 1435 in beautiful Main Street in Rahway, New Jersey. This is the Al Gattullo Craft Beer Cast on AM 970, The Answer. Welcome back to the Al Gattullo Craft Beer Cast on AM 970, The Answer. Of course, you can follow me on X at Al Gattullo, Instagram at Gattullo, Gattullo. Of course, the Facebook page, facebook.com/AG Craft Beer Cast. Some good stories I just put up there, including a story about a beer out of San Francisco that is over $120 for a 6-pack. You have to check this thing out. It's unreal. People are talking about how it's better than like a Troon beer. Okay, well, I haven't had it. It's in San Francisco. We'll find out soon enough. Of course, iTunes, just do a search for AG Craft Beer Cast. We're Alexa ready. We're on radio.com, Odyssey. We're all over the place. And, of course, we're on the Hopped Up Network, hoppedupnetwork.com. You head over there just a couple of minutes after the live show ends. You can download and listen to this podcast or any of the podcasts whenever you want. Now, my next guest, a dear friend, he's a huge craft beer supporter and we are at a brewery conducting this interview. We're at Alternate Ending, right down in Aberdeen. They're celebrating their 4th anniversary this weekend. These are guys that opened during the pandemic, which is pretty cool, and they are still going, but I digress. Steve has a great site that is the onion of beer stories. That's how I kind of look at it. But more info is available on his website. You go to drainpour.beer. He is the founder and editor-in-chief of drainpour.beer. Let me welcome to the Craft Beer Cast for the very first time, Steve Esparra. Steve, thanks for joining me. How are you?
Al, my friend, great to be here. Thank you.
You got it. So the reason why I'm having you on is something that I think is really cool, and I saw this on your Facebook post when your wife, Alejandra, surprised you on your 40th birthday party with a trip to Oktoberfest. Now, I've never been to Oktoberfest in Germany, and I thought it would be an interesting take to get somebody's perspective on it, who is a big beer guy, going to, I don't want to say the origin of beer, because obviously beer was created by the Egyptians, the first meads and all that other stuff, but Germany is really the place where beer sort of took hold from everybody. So was this a solo adventure? Did you go with a friend? How surprised were you?
I was immediately surprised. I've never been this surprised in my life. My wife, when our son's birthdays in January ended, she kind of started thinking, well, whose birthday is next? My son, Benji, who's in August. But then my 40th is a big one, so she started thinking about it. She told me she started planning this in January, and she was in cahoots with my 2 best friends this whole time for about 7-8 months. They knew. She reached out to them individually and said, hey, how would you guys feel about going to Oktoberfest for Steve's 40th? And they both were like, you mean like, what, like in like Freehold or something? Or like, you know. And she was like, no, Germany. He's been talking about it since I've known him. He's been talking about wanting to go to Oktoberfest. And she's like, you know, it's the weekend of his birthday is the start of Oktoberfest every year. So he's been talking about it forever. It would be an amazing trip. And, we all have kids. I have 3. My other buddies both have 2. And they were like, well, that sounds like a lot. It's like, it sounds like a pipe dream. And then they got together and started talking about it. Like, listen, our wives are down. We got young kids. When are we going to have this chance again, to have this reason to do it? Mm-hmm. So they both agreed, and they all surprised me that I didn't find out. I was completely shocked. I didn't suspect anything. She killed it. She went above and beyond.
So your 2 friends knew this all along for months, 9 months, 10 months, whatever it was. They didn't let slip anything.
Not one person said anything. My mom knew. She kept who she told very minimal, but as we got close to my birthday, she started telling people because people were trying to make plans and all that stuff, but I didn't know. No one let anything slip. She messaged my boss and made sure that I could have the time off. My boss put in the days for me without me knowing. She like I said, it was the works. It was a complete blindside. And at the party, I was trying to plan this party. I almost did all the planning. She was against the party, and it felt like I was like, why are you so against me having this party? I didn't realize it's because she's planning this massive trip for me. Right. That it's another big expense that and so that's why at the party she's like, you're going to Germany with your 2 friends, and my one buddy was there. My other one was already in Europe, and he's FaceTiming him, and I was like, we're going. And she gave me the lederhosen for the 3 of us. That was the gift that I was opening in front of everyone. Yeah.
See, that's not all right. So that's awesome. All right. So now the surprise is done. You get the lederhosen. You get on the plane. What's the setup like when you get out there and you walk into this? I mean, what is the setup like? Is it a big hall of beer? Is it individual breweries? What's the whole setup like?
So Munich is a big city. It's a big world city, right? It's a huge, beautiful, pristine, clean city. In the center of the city, there's this massive I don't want to say a field because it's kind of like concrete, but there's this massive hole, empty area, and that is the Oktoberfest area, the Wiesn. And every year it's temporary buildings that they put there. They go down and come up these tents. I would say it's not one big hall, it's 15 big beer tents. Massive. And there's a couple breweries in New Jersey. In Germany, I think there's 6 of them. So there's Hacker Shore, there's Paulaner, there's Spaten, there's Augustiner. There's all those. They all have multiple tents. They're all massive. They all fit thousands of people. So yeah, you walk into the festival area. You cannot miss it. I met up with a buddy who was there for a day or two, and I was asking him, like, so what's the deal? How do we do it? He's like, just walk north. You cannot miss it. Okay. He's like, you literally cannot miss it, and all you have to do is walk towards there. You'll see huge rides, a Ferris wheel, like it's like a massive fair festival, and then there's insanely massive beer halls, and you can just bounce around unless you have a reservation. Then you go to a reservation, you have one, but you can bounce around, try as many as you want. Yeah.
We're talking with Steve Esparra, a content creator and the owner and editor-in-chief of the website Drainpour. More info is on his website. Go to drainpour.beer. We're here on the Al Gattullo Craft Beer Cast on AM 970 The Answer. We're recording this here at Alternate Ending Brewing. They just served us our food. We're having some beers and having a good time. Now, how many days were you there total?
I landed Thursday morning and I left Monday morning, so it was like 5 days, 4 nights total.
Okay. One of the things that I think they did differently this year at Oktoberfest, I know Vine and Stefano was there, in all of these great German breweries. There was a component of non-alcoholic beer, I think, that they were serving. Did you encounter any of that?
I can't say I encountered non-alcoholic beer, but I would not be surprised. They cater to there is a wine tent if you don't like beer, so you can go to the wine tent. I didn't go inside it, but I saw people going there. It would not surprise me if there was a non-alcoholic beer area or even a whole tent. I went to the fest 3 days. I was there 4 full days. I went to the fest 3 of those 4 days. The first 2 days I had a reservation, that is a whole nother component to the experience, because reservations you need to book in tables of 10. So one of my buddies knows, one of the guys I went with, he knows people who go every year, a big group of 20 people. They go every year for a week at least, right? So we piggybacked on their reservation for 2 nights. That was at the Hacker Shore tent, the Shore Brussels. So that was like, we didn't go to any other tents the first 2 days. So the third day, me and my 2 buddies made it a point to hop around to as many tents as possible. We went to the Old Wiesen, which is like the traditional area. It's free to enter the fest, but if you want to go to the Old Wiesen, you have to pay like a couple euros per person just to get in. There's a huge tent in there that was really fun. It's more family oriented, less like if you watch videos like crazy party, people standing on the tables, chugging and like singing and screaming and stuff.
All right, so then let me then sort of set the scene here. So it's not like a traditional beer fest that we would have here in America, where you pay one price and you walk in, you drink what you want. You're walking into these tents and paying at each tent as you go for whatever beers that you want. Whether it's you're getting this table of 20 and they're bringing the Stanges and the Flanges, and you're just banging back a whole bunch of Kolsch's, and then they're bringing something else out. You're paying as you go, correct?
Okay, so the biggest misnomer, which you just said, is that they bring a Kolsch and they bring something else. No. Every beer tent has one beer, and that is that brewery's Oktoberfest beer. That's it. There's no... Actually, the traditional Wiesen tent served a couple different ones.
Okay.
But again, more family-oriented. There's a lot of kids in there. There's not waitresses walking around with 20 on the table, right?
Right, like you see that video all the time of the woman. Okay, great.
Yeah,
okay.
It's exactly like that. There's a girl, she's got skinny arms like me, and she's got 10 beers, 5 in each hand, and she doesn't spill a drop. It's incredible. But the main tents, you can only get their Oktoberfest. So at Hacker Shore, you're getting their Oktoberfest. Like, it would be way too much. With the amount of people in these tents, it would be way too much to say, I want this, I want this, I want this. No. It's just, you want a beer, yes or no? If you have a reservation, your reservation comes with two beer tickets and a half a chicken that you can eat. Chicken is delicious, by the way.
Okay.
Incredible. I housed them both nights. So your reservation comes with 2 drink tickets. If you don't have a reservation yet, you pay by beer. It's like 15, 16 euros a beer.
Okay.
But you're getting the mass, the big, a liter of beer. It's a lot. So that's how it goes. And also the other important rule is you have to be sitting at a table when you order. That's the rule. You cannot just, because you need a spot. You can't just, because if that was the case, people would just stand and you wouldn't be able to move, right? So you can walk in and try to find a spot, but you need to find a spot at a table and sit down to order a beer from a waitress. Like, even if you're standing, they know you're sitting at that table, they will tell you, sit down.
Got it. See, I like that. Very, very controlled, and it's not everybody a mass of humanity. You have to be seated at a table. That I love. We're talking with Steve Esparra, a content creator and the owner and editor-in-chief of the website Drainpour. More info at the website. Go to drainpour.beer. You can follow the Instagram account. Is it Drainpour?
Drain Pour Beer. At Drain Pour Beer, yeah.
At Drain Pour Beer. We're here on the Al Gattullo Craft Beer Cast on AM 970, The Answer. And we're coming to you from Alternate Ending Brewing. They're having their 4th anniversary. Steve lives nearby. I'm about 20 minutes away, so it was a perfect spot to come down, have a little bit of food and some beers, of course. Let us talk Drain Pour for a moment. How did you come up with the idea for a site that is part news and part satire about craft beer?
I would say it's more satire than news. Anything that is non-satirical is me ranking like the AC Beer Fest top 5. I try to make it very clear when a piece is not satire, because I really want it to lean satire. And really, it's just my love of comedy. I've loved just comedy growing up my whole life, stand-up comedy, all that stuff. The Onion is massive. Obviously, everyone knows The Onion. Babylon Bee, The Hard Times. I actually I started this as writing. So, quick backstory: 2016, I started the first edition. I call it Batch 1 of Drain Pour. That's why the tagline is Batch 1 was better. I started it when I knew I've been making websites my whole life. That's like my career. So I knew I could launch a website, right? And I thought, once I found out about The Hard Times, which is essentially The Onion for music, more punk and hardcore music, which I love anyway, but just the music scene in general, I thought it was genius. And I thought, man, someone should really do this for craft beer because it's so ripe for mocking, you know? So I started Drain Pour a long time ago in 2016, and it was like, I was okay at writing. I was like, I could write articles and launch a website, but it was ticky-tack stuff like, I don't know if you remember 2016, but, Trump administration vows to repeal and replace Reinheitsgebot. Just stuff like this, really silly headlines. I ended up letting it go by the wayside. I stopped drinking for a bit in 2016. I had a lot of stuff going on, my wedding and all that. I had the podcast, Stick to Beer, which was one season, I guess we'll say. And you know what? Ever since I let it go by the wayside, it's been eating at me and eating me. I'm like, man, I wish I stuck with it if I only knew a little more. I ended up writing for The Hard Times in 2019. I still write for them. And that really opened the door and taught me how to be a better satire writer. Okay. And it took years and years of getting the system down to realize that I could have done it this whole time. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to regret it if I don't start it up again. Someone else is going to do it, and it's going to piss me off, and I need to do it. I need to do it my way. So I just did it. By myself. It took a long time to launch because I did everything. I designed the logo, all the WordPress back-end admin. I write most of the articles. I have a couple writers that I brought over from Hard Times, but I do the majority of the writing. And, yeah, it's just something that I'm, it's like in my free time, I think it's funny to poke fun and, craft beer nerds are the best. But, craft beer people are the best, but craft beer nerds can be the worst, and that's what we're trying to, mock and satirize.
100%. All right, last question from me. I did have one question written down that I was going to say, but I'm going to ask you this because we were talking all about the Oktoberfest stuff. Is there one thing at Oktoberfest that you missed that you wish you had done, and would you go back and do that one thing again, or did the trip meet your expectations and beyond?
The trip far exceeded my expectations. If I could go back and do some of the things, I would try a little more of the food at the fest. Okay. The first night we were there, we left our reservation. We were like, oh, let's go to the restaurant, the bar and restaurant near our Airbnb and get some a beer and some food there. And then we got there, and they're not serving food anymore. The bar's about to close. We got one beer, and like, damn, we went to bed hungry. And then, like, the next morning, my buddy was like, there was so many vendors outside of the tent. Why didn't we just stop at one of those? So we could have done that. Also, there's a lot of rides and a lot of fun things that, like, there are these, like, rides and games and stuff that when you do, like, watching it is a spectacle. And, like people gather around to watch drunk people try to do it. I would have liked to try my hand on it, like, because you can't get embarrassed, especially after a few steins. So I would have liked to try some of that. I probably should have done it at 40 because who knows when I'm going back. If I go back at 50, who knows how limber I'll be. Right, but,
Listen, it's something to plan on. My guest has been Steve Esparra, content creator, the owner and editor-in-chief of the website Drain Pour. More info, just go to the website, drainpour.beer. Steve, thanks so much for joining me tonight. I know you had a couple of little personal things you had to take care of, but you cleared your schedule and you got down here, and I'm glad we were able to make it work.
Appreciate it, Al. Thanks for having me. Anytime.
Up next, it's time for Suds and Duds on the Al Gattullo Craft Beer Cast on AM 970 The Answer. Final segment of the Al Gattullo Craft Beer Cast on AM 970 The Answer, and the great Robert Cray and the Robert Cray Band. That's Smoking Gun from Strong Persuader, probably his best-selling album. Got a chance to see him last night over in Rahway. Phenomenal. First time ever seeing him, and he was absolutely fantastic. So glad I got a chance to see him. Of course, portions of the program brought to you by Wet Ticket Brewing, 1435 Main Street in beautiful Rahway, New Jersey. They do sell Wet Ticket Brewing at the Union County Art Center there. I always forget the name of it. It's a UCAC or something like that. Union County Art Center. All right. I digress. Let's get into Suds and Duds, shall we? Because we've got to move this along here. So Samuel Adams, the good friends from Samuel Adams, sent me their fall pack, which includes not only a Boston Lager, a new beer that is only included in this 12-pack, which is, I believe, a Munich Dunkel. And then, of course, their usual Oktoberfest and their pumpkin ale Jacko. So we'll start off with Jacko. And I have to say, if you like sweet and pumpkin, this is the beer for you. If not, you're probably not going to like this. To me, too sweet. I like a pumpkin beer, but it's the pumpkin has to be dialed. Like, speaking of Wet Ticket, their pumpkin beer is great, and you need the addition of the cinnamon and the maple syrup because it gives it just enough sweetness, just enough. I enjoy that beer. This one, it's the sweetness just really hits you hard, and I to be honest with you, it's off-putting for me. The Oktoberfest, solid malt backbone on this one. And I do enjoy it. And again, it's a very decent Marzen beer. Is it going to blow you away? No. But is it good and drinkable? And if you see it on tap somewhere, which usually places have this, absolutely get it. It's worth it. Flannel Fest is a cozy and smooth beer, and this is included in the 12-pack that you buy for the Oktoberfest beers that Samuel Adams puts out. Bready Caramel, this was pretty good. I enjoyed this. That might have been the best of the bunch. I mean, obviously the Boston Lager is great, the remastered version. Even the remastered version is good. But this was a good beer and a nice addition to the 12-pack. My good friends at Stone sent me some of the 28th Anniversary Hazy Double IPA. This is a solid West Coast hazy. Good bite, nice hops, not sweet, delicious. Happy anniversary to Stone Brewing. I'm sorry I can't make it out next week for the big party because it looked like a pretty good party. But this is a West Coast hazy. This is not an East Coast hazy by any stretch of the imagination. It pours like a West Coast IPA, but it's got that hazy flavor to it that you needed. Abaddon was the last beer from Autodidact that I had from the mixed 4-pack that they had given me. Another winner from these guys. Juicy, melon forward, love it. Got to get back over to Autodidact and get some more of their beers. They are just, Ron and Ronnie are just cranking it out and doing a fantastic job. Kudos to them. Then I stopped by ShopRite Liquors over in Westfield, and I got another bottle of Firestone Walker's 27th Anniversary Ale. I don't know why I did it. I thought I wasn't sure if I had it at home, and then I realized, when I bought it, I was like, oh, wow, I have this. All right, so let me just crack it open instead of aging it. The bourbon and chocolate are just wonderful in this. Boozy, but not overly so. It's just a great, this is one you kind of share with a few people in little pours. I just poured it into a big snifter and sat for an hour and a half sipping this because you want to let it warm up. You want to get all those complex flavors. You want the bourbon and chocolate to sort of shine through, warming up instead of being ice cold. What a fantastic beer. They really do a great job, Firestone Walker. And then I went to my good friend Allison, who runs Big Brew, Beer Bacon Barbecue, Westfield Hops, which they're not doing this year. They'll be doing it next year. She ran an event for the first time over at Bell Labs in Homedale, a seafood fest. And I have to tell you, what a great turnout. They had over 3,000 people there, all these different seafood food trucks, lines galore. They had music, big area at Bell Labs in the parking lot. And they had Lone Eagle Brewing there. That's the brewery that pours her beers at these festivals. And I had the Oktoberfest. It's a very decent Marzen. Very good beer, solid, drinkable. Nice to see a lot of people walking around with that beer during the event. Very enjoyable. Great success they had with this seafood event. I would absolutely go next year. It was $5 to get in, and then whatever you wanted to buy off whatever truck, you pay for that. They had some vendors there as well, some different shops, and a great jerky, too. Jersey jerky. Oh, my goodness. That was some of the best beef jerky I've ever had. Tender. The guy only uses brisket. A bunch of different flavors. They ship anywhere in New Jersey and, of course, around the country. You can order online. Fantastic stuff. Now, when I was with Steve the other day that we taped this interview Wednesday at Alternate Ending, had a couple of Alternate Ending beers. They have a great special on Wednesdays, which is really cool. Burger and a beer, excuse me, for $18. Get a full pour of Alternate Ending beer and a burger for $18. Can't go wrong with that. Started off with the Out of the Shadows, which the other thing that's great is they have Lucre pours now. So I did an Out of the Shadows, a solid Czech Pils on a Lucre pour. Did the Snit, about half foam, half beer. Fantastic. Then went with a Willie's Gold with a milk pour, Milko pour, a bangin' lager, really, really tasty. And then I finished off with a Hops for Hope, the 2024 version that they did with Lost Tavern Brewing. Excellent beer. I didn't put any notes in there, but a solid IPA, middle of the road IPA at around 6.7%. Excellent stuff. Really good and very much enjoyed it. And I have to tell you, Alternate Endings having their anniversary party. They've done a great job with that. And what Scott has done there has really transformed that place. They change a few things on the menu. Tallulah's from Asbury Park does the menu and does the pizzas. They do a solid job. And I have to tell you, the vibe is great. You can tell that people enjoy being there. It's a fun little place to go. Yes, they do movies. They're doing Halloween movies all month. This month, I think they had Beetlejuice on Wednesday. A really, really good place. I know some people are like, well, the food's okay and whatever. Okay, but if the food's okay, that's great. But the beers that they have there are really, really good. And I know they did, it's probably sold out by now. They sent me an email. They do a Christmas box where it's a holiday box where I guess every day there's a different beer or merchandise or whatever in it. It was pricey. I didn't do it. But it's definitely one of those things that's sort of unique that I don't see any other brewery in New Jersey doing. And that's the thing. We've got a couple minutes left here. This is something that I want to talk about. With so much turmoil with breweries and so many different things that are happening with the breweries and breweries going out of business and, not sure how to pivot. Look, in other areas of the country, breweries can fundraise. They can do different things to support themselves. But in New Jersey, they can't do those things. Not allowed to fundraise, not allowed to do certain things. There are certain things you can do. You have to be innovative. You need to change things up. If your beer is not getting those people in the door, then maybe it's time to check a few things. Maybe it's time to change the beer. I think the success of certain breweries around the country, not just specifying New Jersey, but just around the country, the reason why they're so good is because they're honest with themselves. If they know a beer isn't good, they get rid of it. They brew a new batch, or they brew a different batch. If something isn't working and they're losing money, they figure out what the problem is and change it. There are a lot of people, there are a lot of breweries, and this is across the country. Again, this is not specific to just one state. But there are breweries across the country who stick their head in the sand and say, look, I made this beer 10 years ago. I'm going to continue making this beer exactly how I made it, and I'm not going to change. Okay, that's great. But if they're not coming in the door to buy that beer anymore, maybe it's time to change. Then there are other breweries that make a living off of just making lagers or just making sour beers or, doing every beer that they do has an adjunct in it and, there's this, crazy flavors and, they do all these, I don't want to say gimmicks, but they whatever it is, right? That's fine. And if that works for you, that's great. But if it's not working, you've got to change it. There's a reason why people go to Icarus now. The building is huge. There's plenty of space. Parking's at a premium, but they figure it out. There's a reason why people go to Source on the weekends, because there's a beautiful piece of land there. And they can sit there and they can have a good time with their friends and drink a couple of beers and bring their pets and bring their kids, and it's enjoyable. And there are areas for adults, but it works. There are other places they can't do that, so the beer brings them in. Twin Elephant, very small space. Beer is excellent. Oak Flower, space is small. Beer is great. People come in. That's the whole point. You got to make good liquid, and you got to have different events and things that are happening that helps you to further your business. And if you're a place like Alternate Ending and you got food and you got mixed drinks, well, that's a big bonus too. Again, not everybody can do it, but I think you have to change. You have to be innovative. All right, my thanks to everybody involved in the show, as well as my guest, Steve Aspar, founder, editor-in-chief of DrainPour.beer, Darren Yellen, and, of course, last but not least, the great Buddy Watson. Back live on the Joe Piscopo Show Monday at 6 a.m. This has been the Al Gattullo Craft Beer Cast on AM 970 The Answer. Cheers, everybody.